you have to be real with yourself. Who is he right now today?
You want a godly man that he's gonna set up boundaries in your relationship.
Is this the man that I trust to lead me, to lead our future children, that is going to affect generation upon generation upon generation?
Bloop.
Oh, sorry.
Do you see this? Do you see this, guys?
Okay, so this video is for all of our single Christian women.
All y'all.
All y'all. Well, I know how it is to be single and just searching and looking for a godly man who could eventually become your husband. How do you figure that out? There's so much going on there.
I think from what I've seen and what we know, as we're talking to a lot of like friends and young people, it's difficult to discern whether someone who wants to date you or you are already dating, is he just a Christian man who is not walking the walk, or is he actually a godly man who is ready to be a husband and is at least showing some of the qualities of the husband, or is he just declaring himself a Christian, and he is, but he's the Christian on paper. Let's just say it like that.
Lukewarm Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that all the time.
Yeah.
So he may say that he's a Christian, but like Matej said, is he actually living it?
Yeah.
And I will say though, it seems like it's difficult to discern, but I actually don't think it is difficult to discern. I think once you have to be honest with yourself. The best thing is, if you're not even dating right now, for you to look at these things before you start dating. And if you already have started dating someone, you need wise counsel, because it is pretty clear. And that's exactly what we're gonna do in this video. We are literally going to go through list upon list of, okay, what does a Christian man say in this sense, and what does a godly man say or do in this sense? And you can see, right, babes, a clear difference.
Yeah.
So when you see the clear, like, next to each other, then your discernment can be spot on.
Yeah.
It's just, are you able to even get to this spot to begin with, which is what we're trying to do in this video, is show you, boom, one next to the other. So we broke it up into categories. The first category we want to go through is the man, is he passive or is he proactive? So that's like our little umbrella here. Okay. So a Christian man, because he's passive, he doesn't have his own spiritual rhythms and disciplines. So for example, he might say, or you might see him go to church, but he doesn't have his own thing. He doesn't have his own Bible reading time with the Lord. He doesn't have his own prayer life. He pretty much just relies on the pastor, the priest, whatever, just to give him the word of the Lord, and that's about it. But he does not have his own spiritual life. Yeah. He's leaning on others to set that up for him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think then this is the Christian man. On the other side, godly man, I'm going to be talking about the godly man, but a little disclaimer before that I feel like I really need to say. We're not trying to describe the perfect man that has to have all of these things. At least he is trying.
Right.
So if he is trying, good job, because I'm not even like on this list. I recognize myself.
You are.
I'm trying. And a lot of peeps are, at least if you're trying, you're good. Okay, on the other side of this is a godly man. You do have a growing spiritual life that you're actually stewarding. So you have set your priorities, that the Lord is your number one priority. You have the time one-on-one with God. You have this personal relationship with the Lord. You're doing the Bible studies, whatever, but you are actually trying to tap into your godly identity, your godly calling as a man, as a husband, whatever God has for you, and you're actively pursuing it.
So good. Yeah. Love it. So the next thing that you can see, okay, this is a little bit more of a Christian man versus a godly man, is if he's immature. And immature in all of the things. Is he immature spiritually, like we just talked about? Yeah. Is he immature emotionally and not able to identify his emotions, articulate his emotions, deal with his emotions? Is he immature socially? Does he not understand social cues? And these are just important things, because we'll get into the deeper stuff later, but this just goes to show you that a man who is immature will not be ready to be the spiritual leader of your home, which is what a husband is called to be. So if you see immaturity, and like Matej said, in a way that he's not even working towards maturity, he's just stuck and passive and immaturity in his life and all the things, it's just no bueno.
I think on the other side, godly men, it is harder for guys in general to tap into their EQ, emotional intelligence, in a way to recognize their emotions, to express their emotions. It is harder. I'm 34 soon, in two days. In 2 days, I'm 34, and I'm still like, I have so much to learn in the sphere of emotions, but I'm trying to get there. Is he spiritually intelligent? That means, is he trying to do everything with his own hands, or he's actually tapping into the spiritual, tapping into the Lord, into the heavens perspective of things, and he's actually seeking the Lord on the things of the matter. And the social one is just, I don't know even how to explain it. You know if someone is socially mature, that he can handle certain situations.
Yeah, exactly. The next thing in this category would be, is he afraid to take responsibility? Or is he getting defensive about things? Or just in general not owning his life? Like the examples we just said. Can he even own these things? Or is he just like, oh, well, I don't have time to read my Bible. I don't have this. I don't know my emotions. And that's like where it ends. And he's just not willing to take responsibility and ownership over his life, over his spiritual life, over his sphere, over his growth. Again, that's not qualities that you want in a future husband.
On the other hand, a godly man will take responsibilities for whatever it is. That means that even when you're pointing something out at him, even when you're trying to show him something, he's not gonna be defensive, put up walls and say you're wrong, but he's actually gonna, okay, this is my responsibility, this is what I need to do about it, and I'm gonna own it. Because as a man, you as a woman, you need a man who's gonna take responsibility for whatever his thing is, for whatever his calling or whatever. He's gonna not put responsibility on others, on you, but he's actually gonna take it. And like that just shows you how that he is able to one day bear the burdens of being a man and a provider and a husband
and a leader, true leader. So good, babes. So the next category is, we have to look at the biblical fruit in his life. And I'm pretty sure I heard this from our bestie, Maddie Pruitt. I think her and her husband talked about it, that you can't look at, like, you shouldn't look at future fruit. You have to look at the fruit that the person is exhibiting right here, right now. Not this fantasized idea that he will get better, he will grow into that. And again, we know that we're all growing, but you have to be real with yourself. Who is he right now today? Because we're slow growers, right? Yeah. So you have to look at it right here, right now. So with that note, a Christian man exhibits the fruit of the world. So he's probably going to be caught up, like you'll see it in little ways, like maybe he's swearing all the time, he's drinking all the time, he gets easily angered and frustrated.
It's not gentle.
Yeah, basically you need to look at what are the things that the Bible tells us about the world. And if your guy didn't say a single thing, would you even know that he's Christian? Would you even know that he's a follower of Christ? Or if you didn't hear a single word, or you watched a TV show, would you be like, oh yeah, he's definitely a Christian, I can tell he's Christian? Or would you be like, wow, this guy is so far from the Lord? So what are his words? What are his actions? What does his schedule look like on the weekends? Is he exhibiting the fruit of the world or
the fruit of the Spirit? I was like, oh, that's me. There's one thing when we talk about fruit of the Spirit, obviously Galatians 5, you know, the 9, I think it's 9, like the joy, the peace, the kindness, self-control, gentleness. There's one thing that's tricky with the fruits of the Spirit. The gifts of the Spirit are free, and God gives it to us no matter what. It's a gift. Here you go. So if he's operating in the gifts of the Spirit, that's one thing. We're not talking about that because that's freely given. Fruits, you actually have to work for your fruits. You cannot fake fruits because it takes, what we said earlier, responsibility, your prayer time, being diligent, so that you can have fruits. You cannot fake fruits.
That's so good. You can't fake it.
Yeah.
Amen. So we talked about it a little bit before, but we want to go a little bit further into defensiveness. And I look at this not just in situations, but as a whole, does this person or is this person able and willing to look at himself, to look at the situations that he is in, and is he being defensive? Or Matej will talk about what a godly man does. If he's being defensive, then he's not willing to, like we said earlier, take responsibility. And I think a lot of times too, you have to just ask yourself, is this going to be a quality of a godly husband?
Yeah.
Do you want a husband in the future who's going to be so defensive with everyone? He's going to be defensive with you. He's going to be defensive at his job. He's going to be defensive with his kids. He's going to be defensive with his spiritual mentors. He's never, a person who's defensive, exactly, is too immature and maybe afraid to do the hard work to grow. Someone who is defensive, chances are, is going to have a really difficult time growing in that area. So again, look at the fruit right here, right now. If this person is so defensive that he's not even working towards it, then he's not going to even get to that point where he can exhibit the fruit of the Spirit, because he's just, boom, closed off, not willing to work, not willing to look at himself.
That's good. That's really good.
Thanks, honey.
And obviously on the other side is being teachable. A godly man is being teachable. And how does it look like? It looks like, okay, babes, I obviously heard you. Like, what happened? It's not, I didn't mean to, I did. It's what happened. Like, show me, teach me. I want to see into your heart. I want to see what's happening on your side. He's teachable because he wants to learn from you. Or something like, I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to be a man. I don't know anything about marriage. I want to read books. Like, I want to learn this. He's teachable, and he sees that he doesn't know everything and that he wants to learn. Okay. And when he messes up, what can I learn from this? Babe, what can I learn from what I did? What can we learn from our failures or whatever? Again, being teachable, because being teachable shows you that he has responsibility, that he's exhibiting the fruits of the Spirit, and it just carries you, and you can go.
So good, babes.
Yeah.
And I'll brag on you for a second. It's one of my favorite qualities about Matej that I realized early on. Because he's so teachable, I never have to worry about following him or being submissive to him, because I know that if something is wrong or he's not getting something, he is so teachable that his first and foremost teacher is always the Lord. He is so humble that whenever anything is off in his life, that he goes straight to the Lord. So I know as a wife that I can trust him to lead me, to lead our family, to lead our home, because he's teachable. He's like, Lord, I don't know. Lord, teach me. Lord, I need you. A man who is dependent on the Lord in all things is the man that you want for a husband. Like, it's so important. It's one of my favorite things about you.
Love you.
Love me too, honey.
You're so nice.
It's true. I really love that about you. And the last thing in this category is you have to look at the people that he surrounds himself with, who is in his community. Now, it's not to say that every single person that he associates with has to be a Christian, but who are the people that are influencing him? You do have to look at that. And it doesn't mean that, again, we shut ourselves out from the world. But if his core group of friends are not godly men and they are only concerned on the weekends about going to bars, getting drunk, trying to take him to a strip club, or encouraging him to maybe not be faithful, or they're constantly swearing, they're constantly just showing him things of the world, as opposed to what my babes will talk about, helping him be a better man. So you have to look at his community, and you'll be able to tell a lot about a guy from the people that he hangs himself around.
True. And
it could also show you, even if he's trying to be a mature man, that if he's still sticking around with a lot of his like childhood friends that haven't grown up yet, it doesn't mean that we're gonna cut the guy off, but there's some immature tendencies that he's not willing to grow into new relationships, to have men around that are gonna help grow him, that he's just stuck in the past with ungodly people that are poisoning him. Quite literally.
You said it so well. I mean, it's so obvious what I'm gonna say, because you did such a good job. But I want to surround myself with men who are gonna call me higher, who are gonna teach me something about marriage, who, like, where is he getting his inspiration? Obviously the Lord and the Holy Spirit, but around him, here. who is he looking up to?
Right.
Like, what are the preachers or the teachers? Who is he following on Instagram? Like, even that, like, who are the men around him and the community around him that's pouring into his heart?
So good, babes.
Yeah.
Love it. So the next and final bucket that we have is basically looking at the man's integrity and character. So one of the things that we see a lot with Christian men is that they're not a man of their word. For example, he might say, oh yeah, I'll text you and we'll set up plans for this weekend. Did he text you? Did he call you like he said he would? Did he set up plans like he said he would? If he said something, did he do it? Not just with you, but you can also see it with his friends, with his parents, with his community. If he's constantly promising things to people that he cannot live up to, that's not the type of man that you want as a husband. That's going to be a really, really tough marriage. I can tell you that.
Yes. I think, on the other side is what Jesus said in Matthew, I think it's 5. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Why? Because if I am showing to my girlfriend, to someone, whatever, my wife, that my yes is yes, that means that you can rely on them. That means that you're already looking into future to one day where he's gonna be your fiance or your husband. You are able to rely on him, and when you ask him to do something, he's actually gonna do it because he's a man of his words. Because when his yes is not a yes and his no is not a no, that means he's immature, he is unstable, and that's showing you in the future, well, maybe I cannot rely on him. But again, I want to go back to the disclaimer. You're not looking for a perfect man, at least if he's trying.
Right.
If he's trying to do it.
That's aware, yeah. So good. So the next one is, and this is huge, ladies, we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of times, Christian men who are not really godly do not protect boundaries of purity. That is so huge. It says so much about a man in the dating season on where his stance is and how much of a leader he is. And I'm not going to take your thunder. You're going to talk about that. But if you have set up boundaries and you've made it clear to this man and he constantly breaks those boundaries and doesn't have remorse. Again, we're not talking about being perfect, because we all make mistakes, but if he's not remorseful about it and continuously just pushes your boundaries and does not honor your boundaries and does not honor you as a daughter of the King in this season, that he doesn't care about protecting your purity, protecting your innocence, that is not a man that you want to lead you. Because in the dating season, it comes out with purity and boundaries, but you're gonna see that in other ways if you get married. It's basically showing, like, is he leading you to sin? It may be leading you to sin with sex before marriage, but once you're married, he's gonna lead you to sin in other areas because he does not have that remorse, that guilt in his heart, that he's coming to the Lord and saying, Lord,
and to repent.
I don't wanna do this anymore. I don't wanna do this to my girlfriend. If he doesn't have that, just no bueno.
Yeah. I think when we talk about godly men, ladies, hear me out. Here's the truth.
Tell us the truth.
Because men, sex means so much more to them. They're wired like that. This is something they're driven to. It's not you that is supposed to have boundaries and draw boundaries in a relationship. It's actually the man. Like, you want a man, a godly man, that he's gonna set up boundaries in your relationship, because that shows you how serious he is about boundaries. He knows his boundaries. He knows where he will step over it. He knows what he needs to do to protect this relationship, this family one day, sometimes even from himself.
Right.
So godly men will set boundaries for purity. He will honor and respect your body. He will fight for it. It doesn't mean that he will never fail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, I failed. But there's this repentance, and Lord, I'm sorry, like, let's do it. Like, boom.
And setting up new boundaries.
Yeah.
So the last thing in this little section is, like we talked about a little bit earlier, when you look at this man, does he resemble Jesus or does he not? It is a very simple thing. would Jesus look like this? Would Jesus talk like this? Would Jesus act like this? Because we are all, as true Christ followers, are here on this earth to be transformed into the image of Christ. So like Matej said, if there's no effort, if there's no even realization to even be on this path, then this is not a man that you should be with, because we know that the Bible tells us that our husbands are supposed to be the leaders, just as Christ is the leader of the church. So if he is not looking, sounding, feeling like Jesus,
that's good.
Not it.
Yeah, this is also something that you cannot fake.
Yeah.
Because as you spend time with Jesus, as you look at him, at his face, as you read into his word, this is where you are being transformed into the image of Christ, where he's starting to live in you. So that one you cannot fake.
That's so good. And one last thing, because I think knowing the needs of a woman is, again, to have a man who is a leader. That's how God created us to be. So in all these things that we went through, you can see, again, is he leading in this area or is he not? Is he leading in the spiritual things where he's trying to, or is he not?
Yeah.
Is he leading his own life to be more like Christ, or is he not?
Yeah.
This is a huge, huge thing. And we see so many times in marriages where the man is passive and he's not a leader.
Yeah.
The gender roles get so out of whack, and it's not how God intended it to be.
Yeah.
So we have to be honest with ourselves when we're dating guys, to be like, is this the man that I trust to lead me, to lead our future children, that is going to affect generation upon generation upon generation? It's not just about we're lonely.
Leaving a legacy.
Yeah, we're lonely, we want someone to be with. No, we're leaving a legacy. Is this truly the man that you think is going to do a good job?
Yeah. That's it. You said it all. One more time, I want to say, this is a perfect godly man. I don't know if he exists. Probably he's out somewhere. But if he's trying to get there, that's what we wanna. That's what we wanna say. Because if you're gonna go just by this list, you're not gonna find anyone. You know.
Exactly. So good. Well, we bless you guys, and we hope you found this helpful. To our ladies, don't settle. Do not settle. The good men are out there. I promise they are. I promise.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.